don't talk about spoilers, and then when I do talk about spoilers. Okay. So everyone, how's it going? I just played for Danganronpa 3, or V3, it doesn't actually matter, I've always called it Danganronpa 3, and I thought I would give my thoughts about it because I've streamed the entire thing on my channel. It took me like over 30 hours or something, so I thought I'd have like something to end it with. And as you might probably already tell from the title of the video, I didn't actually like it that much. Now I do think that it's still a really good story, a really good game in general. As a visual novel, I think it holds up. It does definitely hold up. I would never say this is a bad game or a terrible game. But if you compare it to the other two main Danganronpa games, I think this is definitely the weakest. Now, I was thinking that after the end of Chapter 1, but I kept looking out for more, because, you know, usually Danganronpa gets better as the game goes on, but after that I was like, nah, maybe not, and I was looking for more, I just couldn't find that stuff. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to talk a little bit about the entire thing without spoiling anything. But I won't be able to talk about that for very long, but I'll just give a very quick overview of my ideas, on my opinions, why I don't think Danganronpa 3 is actually that good compared to the other two, and then I'm going to talk about the spoiler stuff later, and I'm going to talk a lot about the spoiler stuff, so most of the video will be about that. So first off, I think in general all the characters weren't quite as interesting or unique, or they didn't do as many crazy and cool things as like they did in the other Danganronpa games. Like in a lot of the other Danganronpa games you had characters, like for example you had Kyoko, best girl obviously, you had Chiaki, you had Tokiyami, you had even the characters that didn't do that much, they were still very cool to have around, like, what was his name? Nico something. Oh, the guy was like eat well, shit well. What a guy. What a guy. Like real cool guys to just have around, and I'd be like, yeah, having them chime in. To some degree you could say that Miu does something like that, but Miu has this like sort of really dirty humor where it's like hit and miss. Sometimes she brings absolutely amazing lines that I can't even believe made it into the game, and then other times it's like roll eyes, you know, it's sort of like hit and miss toilet humor. But apart from that, what really was there? Like I felt like most characters were background characters, and that doesn't feel nice, especially in a game like Danganronpa where you have 16 characters. That's quite a lot, but you're supposed to have like a few characters that you can like latch on to, like maybe like 6 or 7 characters that actually do stuff, that get stuff done, that have a really interesting personality, and then maybe some background characters that have really interesting personalities, but they quip in every now and then, they deliver a line every now and then, and they're really cool for that. I felt like that whole dynamic wasn't quite there in Danganronpa 3. Like I said, there was some of it with like Miu and Kokichi to some degree as well, though I actually didn't like him that much in total. But what else was there? I don't really know. I actually felt like, in general, I just didn't like the characters too much. Apart from that, I feel like the cases, I'm not gonna spoil anything of the cases, just that I feel like I was actually really satisfying to go into a case with just the truth bullets and then try and figure out what happened just from the truth bullets, and I actually got really good at that. I went into some cases like knowing exactly what went on with how the killer did it, where he did the stuff, the significance of the important pieces of evidence that are not quite as important, how the entire thing went on. I always had these ideas in my head, and then as trial went on, I was like, oh yeah, I was wrong on, I was wrong on like almost nothing. I was right on almost everything. Like, it was actually really satisfying in that regard, but the problem was that didn't actually help me that much, because I feel like this is the one Danganronpa game where knowing exactly what happened with how the murder did it doesn't actually tell you who did it. In like none of the cases. And that was really, really weird. That was actually really weird. Oh my god, that was not a nice feeling at all. Knowing that you have all the facts laid out correctly, but still having no fucking clue who actually did it, because the strategy or the mechanism that was laid out for how the killer did all these stuff in all the different cases could be done by multiple guys. And especially in Danganronpa, or in I mean, a lot of visual novels that have crimes in them, like in Ace Attorney. There's always this one thing that sort of twists the entire thing on its head, and suddenly it's like, oh, now everything is different, and now everyone could have been the murderer or something like that. And I felt like I got really, really tired of that. I really didn't like how it was like in this game at all. Not to say that I didn't like the cases overall, I just didn't like that particular aspect. I think in total, most of the cases were really good. I pretty much liked most of the cases. If it just wasn't for that aspect, maybe they could have laid out the evidences a bit differently, just tweaked the truth bullets a bit so it was more obvious that the truth bullet actually lead to the correct killer and don't just line out how the killer did it. I think that would have been way better. I think compared to Danganronpa 1, I would say that overall, the overall quality of the cases in Danganronpa 3 is better than in Danganronpa 1. Danganronpa 1 had really straightforward, simple cases. The first case in Danganronpa 1 was an absolute joke. It was an absolute joke. Compared to the first case in this, I'm not going to spoil it, but compared to this case, the first case in this game, and this was way more complex, way more stuff going on than that one. So I would say the case is at least better, but they still don't have anything on Danganronpa 2 cases. I think those were still the best. And character-wise, like I said earlier, I didn't really like them, so they're kind of the worst. So medium case quality, worst characters, the overarching story didn't really come in too much, so that one is also so-and-so, you know. Also not really quite something that blew me away. So what else is there? The gameplay? I mean, I liked some of the interesting changes to it with the Mind Mine. I thought Mind Mine was an okay game. I like the idea behind Psyche Taxi, without Crazy Taxi, but it doesn't actually play that well. I actually really liked the lying mechanic, because I felt like the lying mechanic worked really well in this game, because it always felt really satisfying when you went in and you were like, oh shit, I can lie here, and then you do it and you're like, ah, shit, got it. Those were like the most satisfying times I had playing this game, was when I went into a discussion knowing I had to lie, or even knowing beforehand, oh, I have this clue about this and that character. I can guess at some point I need to lie about that, about this one specific clue out of the other 20 that I have, and then it actually comes up and I was completely on point. I do have to lie exactly on that truth bullet, exactly on that spot, and I fucking do it, and it feels really satisfying, especially when you call it, like I called it like 3 hours earlier, by the way. Watch the VODs, that particular one. I actually called lyings always like an hour in advance, so I got really good at knowing when I had to lie, and it felt really satisfying. I thought that mechanic was fucking amazing. Also, good thing that they took out the storing truth bullets from the story weaknesses and then using it somewhere else. I don't even know if that was in Danganronpa 2. But that was a shit mechanic. Good thing it's gone. What isn't gone, however, is fucking Hangman's Gambit. Why the fuck is Hangman's Gambit still in this fucking game? What is the point of Hangman's Gambit? You get into a situation where you know what you need to put in. Oh, I know I need to put something like this in. But there's like 50 different ways of like putting that in words. Could be 2 words, especially if it's 2 words. Like, what the fuck is supposed to be there? Like, I know, that's so frustrating when you know what it's supposed to be. You know the circumstances, you know the correct direction to take it in, but you just don't know exactly the right word that the game wants you to put in there. That's so stupid. It could have been way better if there was something like codes. Like, here's a code word or a code, like some numbers, and you had to input the correct numbers. For something like that, Hangman's Gambit would be really good, because if you know the code, you could instantly put it in. Oh, nice. But the way it's used in like Danganronpa 2 and in here, it's just so frustrating. That's where I lost most of my health, actually, in most games. Like, whenever Hangman's Gambit came up, I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna lose like 3 hearts, because I don't fucking know what they want from me. I really don't know what they want from me. Oh, God. Like, I know what the answers are, I don't know what the word to put in is. Anyway, that's it for the most part with the spoiler-free thing that I could say, all the spoiler-free stuff that I could talk about in Danganronpa V3. But yeah, that's the end of the spoiler-free stuff. Now we're talking about spoilers. So if you don't want to listen to spoilers, shut it off now. If you are alright with listening to spoilers, then you need to drink a cold one with me right now. Because I couldn't fucking believe what they did in chapter 1. This goes to Kaede. And to Tocho. Ah, oh my fucking god. I know Tocho was in chapter 1, but that goes out to that as well. Why? Actually, I know why they did that, but... I mean, the idea behind swapping the main character is cool. I really like that idea. That's a really interesting idea, where you switch the main character in the middle of the story, not really in the middle, but somewhere in the story, and you give the main character properties to someone else who then has to grow into that role. I like that idea. The big problem behind that, though, is that Kaede was too good of a character. She was such a good main character that swapping away from her just didn't work. If it was a shit main character or just a medium main character and you switch to someone else who was also shit or also like a medium quality main character, totally fine. And then that medium quality main character that you switched into grows into a great character, and that's great. That's how we should do it. But starting out with a great main character and then switching to a shit main character who grows into maybe a medium quality main character, that feels so bad. Oh my god. That was so frustrating, actually, because there were so many situations after that, especially if you watched my playthrough, where I kept going like, you know that Kaede in this situation would have brought it back around? Holy shit, especially the Kokichi scenario. So, Kaede... Oh, let's first talk about why I think that Kaede was such a great main character. So, in visual novels in general, maybe even in anime in general, if you watch anime or read visual light novels or whatever, what usually happens, or manga, whatever, anything in that sort of tropey area, usually main characters, for the most part, if you're talking about anything, I was thinking about maybe different genres, whatever, usually main characters are like, to some degree, the character that the audience wants to feel like they are, the relatable character, oh, I'm just a normal dude, and I'm thrown into this adventure, and I don't need to figure out what's going on. Characters like that don't really have too much of their own agency, but rather they get strung along by their own sense of justice and sense of what's right, and end up saving everyone because of it. But the thing is, I get really tired of these main characters. If you look at, for example, main characters from Danganronpa 1 and Danganronpa 2, they themselves don't do that much, apart from what the player does through them. Which, you could argue that maybe that's the point. Maybe the player character themselves isn't supposed to have their own big characteristic or unique thing that they do. Maybe the character's just there so the player can have something to do in the discussions. So that you have like that you have a voice in the discussions. But I think that's so dry, actually, that the main character doesn't get to do much. Like Makoto and Hajime, they mostly just stood around, talked about, oh, this is right, that's wrong, we need to do the thing that's right, and then they go into the class trial, they talk about some stuff, and in the correct spots they just come up with the, no, that's wrong, so much gozo, and then they do the thing that's right. But apart from that, like I said, they don't really do that much. They mostly get strung along. That's a difference here, by the way, that a lot of people don't actually look at, is what the characters are doing. Are they doing that because they themselves had the idea to do it and then put their own plan into motion, or were they strung along by someone else? In Danganronpa 1, Kyoko strings Kyoko and Togami string Makoto along for the entire game. For the entire game, you get strung along by these two characters. You don't really do too much on your own. They just force you from one situation into the next. You don't do that much yourself. Danganronpa 2 didn't have that much, which is why I thought that Danganronpa 2 also, like, main character feeling-wise didn't play that well. But then we get to Kaede, okay? And Kaede, she actually says interesting stuff, you know? Actually, it was so refreshing when she just walks around and she just quips every now and then to some characters. She says some really mean things, but hidden in really, how would I say it? Really normal sentences, really happy sentences, but there's like these like subtle burns I think I need to look through that again. I don't know exactly where it was, but I think she did some subtle burns towards Miu and something like that. She just randomly calls people cute because why the fuck not? What she also does is, you could see that with Kaida that she does a lot of stuff on her own. She comes up with plans on her own. She tries to hold the group together. She does stuff. Oh my god, a main character who actually does stuff. I was so happy that we finally got a main character that was willing to get their hands dirty. I'm not talking about the murder, but actually do stuff like, hey guys, let's push onwards, like trying to grab the scepter into their hand. Like, I know there's a lot of despair going on, there's a lot of stuff pushing, there's other forces pushing against her, but she's there to fight, you know? It was really refreshing. If you watch my playthrough, the more I played with Kaida, the more happy I got. I got so happy that I got playing as Kaida. We had the place where we introduced ourselves to all the other characters, and I kept talking and talking and talking because I was really hyped about the game at that point. I was like, oh man, it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have amazing main characters. Oh, this is gonna be great. And then, no, sure, you know that whiny kid over there who has like the word hat mentioned and almost starts crying? Yeah, you're that guy now. Are you fucking what, mate? Why the fuck would you do that? I mean, I know the point is that Shuichi needs to grow, but he only needs to grow because he becomes the main character. If he didn't become the main character, he didn't need to grow that much. He could have still grown. He was actually was currently growing while he was together with Kaida, because Kaida rubbed off on him, so he was growing. Rub it, whatever. So he was in the process of growing already. Kaida didn't need to die, and he didn't need to become the main character for him to grow as a character. That didn't need to happen. Oh my god, I thought it was, and actually I thought it would have been a lot more interesting to have a character that starts out as someone who like takes the scepter into their hands, who then has to deal with their inability to actually retain it. Like, I thought that's where the story was gonna go. Kaida is trying her best to keep everyone together, but because of all the shit that happens, she can't quite do it. Kokichi is the big antagonist sort of guy who keeps playing against her, keeps riling everyone up. People are not sure what to do, they keep falling into despair, they don't trust each other, but Kaida is trying really hard to fight against that, but she keeps failing and she keeps trying so hard. I thought that's where the story was gonna go. Instead, with Kaida out of the picture, you just had the bickering and you just had Kokichi stringing everyone along. And I thought that left a really bad taste in my mouth playing through chapter 2, chapter 3, all the chapters onwards after that. It felt really bad whenever Kokichi was stringing people along and no one was there to stop him. No one. That's actually one of my main complaints about Kokichi as a character. It's not that Kokichi is a super devious mastermind who you just can't figure out what he does, and you never really know to trust him or not to trust him. Oh, what do you do? Oh no, we got fooled by him. It's not that he's that kind of character. I mean, he's trying to be. But the thing is, rather that, everyone just fucking falls for his tricks all the fucking time. It's not that he's smart, it's that everyone else is fucking stupid. Oh my... I couldn't believe just how stupid all those people were. And you could see that as well with the Angie cult going on, where they just all randomly fall for a cult. Holy shit, how stupid did these characters suddenly become? And I really fucking hate that, because I knew if Kaide was still there, none of that would have happened. Or if it did happen, Kaide would have been able to fight against it. Instead, we had to sit through all of these chapters, seeing how Kokichi and Angie sabotage everything, and no one fucking stops them. That was not a nice feeling at all. That was not a nice... Now you could argue that, hey, if Kaide was there and he would stop these characters from doing these things, it would be too easy for all these characters to make it through the killing game. Is it though? Is it though? Isn't the despair that the whole game is supposed to induce a lot greater if you have someone fighting against it with full force, but the killings still happen? I feel like that's a lot more of a despairing situation if you do fight against it with all your might and can't win against it, than if you just are unable to fight against it because your characters are too stupid to fight against it, and then it happens. Right? Am I wrong on this? I much rather would have hoped, like, even if, like, I'm not saying that, oh, if Kaido was still alive, none of the killings would have happened, they would have all been happy. Like, no, I think the killings still should have happened just the same way, just that there should have been some counter. I was missing the counter force. I thought that maybe Tocho was gonna give counter force, which is why I named her earlier, because she seemed extremely intelligent and very capable, but then she just sort of went, oh, actually, I'm a bit crazy and I'm gonna kill someone. To some degree, Kyo was that as well, because I also thought that, oh, Kyo, he calls out Kokichi's lies every now and then. Not that often, because he doesn't give a shit, but whenever he does give a shit, he calls out Kokichi, and you're like, you're not a good liar. And I really like that, but then also he's like, oh yeah, I'm actually crazy now, and I'm gonna kill someone. And we have our great main guy, the detective, who isn't actually that good. I mean, he says it himself, I'm not that good of a detective, and everyone says like, no, you are. But I'm sitting there thinking, no, you are shit at being a detective. You are a terrible detective. Mostly because he has all the information, and so often, there was some really simple stuff. Oh god, what stuff did we have? Oh, there were multiple parts. You cannot remember anything, that was very simple. Oh yeah, when Kyo was first being accused of being the murderer in chapter 3, and he instantly jumped on Himiko, and they kept talking about Himiko for like 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, and I kept thinking to myself, you're the fucking detective, you have this clue in your hand that literally says Kyo fucking did it, and you just sit there for 10 minutes not saying a fucking word, while everyone else goes like, oh, could it really have been Himiko? I don't know. And then we have to go for some other discussions, and then he goes, oh, could it have been Kyo? Oh yeah, this thing says it's Kyo. Oh my god! Why? It's stuff like that really boggles me. How the fuck this guy's supposed to be a detective when he holds on to the clues in his hand while not opening his fucking mouth, while everyone else is out there killing each other, like verbally. Oh, I really didn't like him at all. I really didn't like Shuichi as a main character at all. Like, in the very end, like the last 2 hours of game, he was alright. The last 2 hours of gameplay, he was alright, okay? I'm not gonna go that far. I'm gonna say that in those last 2 hours of gameplay, he was alright. But Kaido was alright from the beginning. That's the thing, he was alright from the beginning. Why the fuck do we have to... Oh, shit, man. I just don't know. Also, the thing about lying with Kokichi in general is that usually, if you lie about something very important and some bad shit happens, if you are halfway intelligent, you stop believing that fucking person. Like, how did they not stop believing him sooner? I did it take until chapter 5. Chapter 5! For them to realize that, hey, maybe Kokichi is actually a lying sack of shit. Why did it take him that long? Oh, I know, because Kaede wasn't fucking... Actually, like, I keep going on about Kaede, but like I said, Tojo could have also given him counter, but she didn't want to because she's a maid and she has to stay silent unless asked, or stuff like that, and Kyo didn't give a shit, so he didn't say anything either, and he was crazy, so that also didn't help. So the only 3 characters that could have countered him didn't do anything. Actually 4 if you count Shuichi, but he's too stupid anyway, he doesn't give a shit, so he can't do that either. But yeah, if a character like Kokichi comes, like imagine if this is a real killing game, you had someone in there who actually had brain, or even multiple, anyone, half a brain, you don't even need to have a full brain, and he lies all the fucking time and gets people riled up, gets people fighting as you, like sows discord everywhere. You'd be like, I don't fucking believe you anymore. Whatever you say, I don't give a shit anymore. You tell us to go in there and do that and that. Fuck you, no, I'm gonna do something else. You stop believing that guy. But they kept believing him and believing him and believing him the entire fucking time. And I kept thinking to myself, was there ever any situation where you believed Kokichi's lies and it actually turned out alright? Fucking no. Up until the point he died, it never actually ever worked out. And I keep going like, Kokichi, he might lie to us, but what if he's right? We should do that, what he said. I couldn't sigh hard enough at all of these different points and all the shit that was going on. And then he got lucky and lucky and lucky all the time as well, with like in chapter 4 as well, and that really rubbed me the wrong way as well. So I don't know what the fuck was up with all of that. And yeah, I want to go into specifics now with what I said earlier. In cases 1 and 2, in case 1, right after we went into the trial, I figured out that someone rolled the shot put ball through the tunnel up to the books, went down the books, hit him on the head, and I also, as soon as I got the pictures, I saw the fucking flashes on. Who the fuck put the flash on? That's the first thing I thought. Took until the end of the trial for them to figure that shit out. And because I knew all of that, I thought, it was Shuichi. Because I didn't think that the main character, who's really good, who's a really cool character, would do something like that, especially because in detective stories in general, there's like this rule that the detective is not allowed to be the killer. I guess the detective wasn't the killer, but then again, Shuichi wasn't really a detective at that point, it was us, the protagonist, but, you know, I like the rule that the protagonist is not allowed to be the killer because that's stupid, and it was stupid. They showed you the hints, like, oh, I dropped everything I was holding, and then, those aren't fucking hints, they're only hints because you made them hints. Because otherwise it doesn't mean anything like that. Anyway, I thought that was so stupid. Anyway, I perfectly called the entire apparatus that, oh, the flash was on. Why was the flash on? It must have been done on purpose, because in the second picture he goes toward it. So the flash was on purpose to lure him towards it, and that makes the ball through the entire episode, that makes that hit. I figured it out immediately, like right after the trial started. The picture I figured out as soon as I got it, and I still selected the wrong killer 3 times. 3 times. First off, I thought it must be Shuichi, because it would make a lot more sense narrative-wise if he was actually the killer. Secondly, I thought, okay, maybe my ideas were a little bit wrong and it was actually Miyu, because there were plenty of evidence pointing towards her. She had a drone with a camera on it that maybe could have transported a shot put ball if she made it strong enough. She's an inventor. You could say that, oh, she would have been able to make the drone strong enough to lift a shot put ball. And you could have actually, since she didn't ever go into the vent, you could have said, oh, she parked that in the vent, she had a camera on, she had it remote controlled, she was sitting in the dining hall. All she needed was a tiny little camera where she could, or like monitor, where she could see what the camera was pointing. And then while everyone said, oh, she was fiddling around with some machinery, she was fiddling around with some drone or whatever, she could just be fiddling around with a secondary drone while using the remote control and the little camera to steer the guy and kill him. She could have done that as well. It was perfectly reasonable with all the different truth bullets that we had. We could have also pinned her. At that point where we had to point to the killer, that was still a perfectly valid thing. And that's what I mean when I say that I figured a lot of stuff out, or different possibilities where it could have been done, but I still don't know who the fuck the killer is, because it could have still been multiple people. And then I thought, I don't know why I thought this, but I thought maybe Antoro killed himself. That was a shot in the dark. That was really a shot in the dark, because at that point I was like, it's not these two? Then who the fuck is it? Because they also dropped the hint, there's only one person who could have put on the flash. And I thought, no, it's not just one person. I thought like 3 people could have done that. Miyu could have messed with it, so it's still on. That was still perfectly reasonable. Shuichi could have done it because he handled all 3 cameras. He could have done it. He could have had to turn it on, and then Kaede didn't check it anymore because he trusts him. And I guess Kaede could have also done it. That was like my last guess, that Kaede did it, because I thought it was a lot more simple if it was Miyu, because Miyu also lines up with the other idea that I had with the drone. Oh my god. And then I almost died. I went to like half health, half a heart of health left on that spot. And then I selected Kaede and I was like, fuck it, probably Kaede and whatever. And I was like, it's fucking true, I can't believe this shit. Like, how do you figure everything out and still get the killer wrong 3 times? I don't even fucking believe it. And then a similar thing happened with chapter 2. Where it's like, okay, I figured out perfectly that it was a ropeway, like way earlier, to go over there, and I figured out that it had to be done at night, and it was over there, he was drowning in the bath. It was really obvious. Like, I'm not a super master detective for figuring out. It was pretty obvious. I think most people would figure that out, right? Most people would figure stuff like that out. There was killed up there, and then ropeway over to the to the thing. I thought that was really obvious from the start. It still took like 5 hours to figure that out for the characters. I don't know why, but I thought it was really obvious. However, figuring that out doesn't mean anything, because everyone could have still been the killer. Absolutely every single person, apart from the victim, could have been the killer at that point, and it made absolutely no sense. Because that time frame where the actual killing happened, everyone could have been done it. I don't think a single person had an alibi for that exact time frame where the killing happened, because that time frame wasn't the entire nighttime. I think the time frame was the entire nighttime, and you can't give everyone an alibi for the entire nighttime. And they just said, "Oh yeah, Tojo was in the," and then that's what I really didn't like. It just came out of nowhere that they were like, "Oh, there's this piece of black cloth." I mean, I know it was there from the start, but is this really what we're doing now? We're setting up 30 different pieces of evidence to point to how it was done. And then we have, oh yeah, here's this one piece of evidence, that's a piece of cloth, and I guess it's from you, so you're the killer. What the fuck? I mean, they did say that, oh yeah, Tojo was in the gym for like 5 minutes. But it could have still been 4 other people, because 4 other people also had access to the gym at that point. It didn't mean that it had to be Tojo, because she's the only one that said it. There could have been other people that didn't say it. Like, I mean, I think Tokichi also had time, Gonta could have also had time. I think there was someone else who also could have done it, I don't remember right now. Someone else was also not accounted for. I could have also done it. So yeah, it could have still been other people that gone to the gym and done that done that stuff. Angie could have done that, for example. I think she was also in the ground, I don't remember. And I just randomly, oh yeah, this black piece of cloth, it's you. All that work, we were working on that case for so fucking long, figuring out how everything was done. It's just like, oh yeah, it's a piece of cloth. That was the most stupid reveal of a killer that I've ever seen. Probably in any mystery, murder mystery that I've ever seen. I've played through the entire Ace Attorney series, every Danganronpa, every Serial Escapes. So I've seen some anime murder mysteries. I want to say that they're anime murder mysteries because they do function very differently from like actual murder mysteries. Well, not actual, but like from actual books, I would say. They do differ in quite a lot of places like that. But that was just, I just couldn't believe it. Chapter 3 was alright. Chapter 3 I think was pretty cool because that's one of the places where I actually did get tripped up. One of the few cases where I actually didn't know what was going on. The killing in the dark room. Because I had like 10 different possibilities on how it could have been done underground. But then those different possibilities on how it could be done underground, they kept being knocked out. No, it wasn't this, it wasn't this, it wasn't this, it wasn't this, it wasn't this. Like, oh, maybe the marker stone was glowing in the dark on the bottom and then you could see it from below. I thought about stuff like that, but they kept knocking it out. Oh, the marker stone was just a regular stone. So I kept getting, and then I actually ended up with not knowing what it was, and then it actually did surprise me how it was done. So that was actually pretty cool. Something that I thought was very amusing was that in the art room where they showed, oh, we spin the effigy around and then the hilt hits the thing. Let me actually show you something. I'm gonna open up my paint program right now. I'm gonna paint you guys something. But the thing is, the hilt couldn't have actually really hit the thing. That it just couldn't. Okay, where's window capture? Give me window capture on GIMP. Okay, you can see that, right? Yeah, okay. So, let me go over here to size 1. Oh, that's a bit small. There we go. So you had the door over here, you had the effigy around here with the katana sticking out of it. I don't know, I'll just use a fucking line for that. And the thing is, you could see this even when they showed you the sophisticated aerial picture of the entire area that showed you everything. Like, I think they said something, oh, we photographed it from above, or they had like a plan or whatever, like a plan of that room, and the lock was fucking over here. Does it really take a scientist to figure out that katana would not hit that lock without, like, not at all? Because when the katana comes around, let me do the lock here. When the katana comes around, it hits the... Like, it fucking hits the door. How does it just hits the door? How does it come over here? How does it come swinging around here? Okay, this is how the katana swings. How the fuck does it hit the lock? It made no fucking sense. Go back into the... If you didn't see that, go back into the game. Look at the aerial picture that they show you of that room, and it's fucking that. It is exactly that. It doesn't work. Because I selected the wrong thing, and then I was like, how the what? Wait, how did they do that? How did they do that? I was like, wait, no, nah. Even if it kind of reached somehow, it still must have scratched the door at least, and it must have left gold on the door. It made absolutely no sense. It made absolutely no fucking sense. But that wouldn't be the only time that happened. I just wanted to point it out because I didn't get to point it out with a picture, not a picture, but a picture during my actual playthrough. So now I could do that. What else was there? Chapter 4. I really like the idea behind Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is such an awesome idea. Let's go into a virtual world, and then we're gonna have kill a murder that transcends both virtual and real world. Some things though. I didn't like that it all happened in the virtual world. I thought it was going to be a lot more interesting if it involved trickery in both the real and the virtual world, but then it just, okay, the entire murder happens in the virtual world. Like, okay, so I guess the real world doesn't really matter too much. Like, I know there was some the misdirection in the real world, but misdirection is not really part of the actual killing, in my opinion. So yeah, I really like the idea, but the problem is I feel like the execution wasn't quite that good, because the actual murder for a chapter 4, where you've already seen quite a lot of stuff in the game, like how they do it, I thought it was just too simple. The murder was so simple. This comes in, you check the toilet paper, blah blah blah, and then you shoot him over off the roof. That was so incredibly simple. And all the stuff surrounding the murder was also really simple. Like, okay, oh, we found the cell phone. This explains half the murder. Like, they did take like 2 hours to try and figure out the wall, but I think to anyone who knows anything about video games, probably had a hunch that it was something like that. Especially if the sign goes down the fucking river, comes out the other side, okay? And they ignore that for 3 hours, or however long it took, 2 hours. And they just ignore that. They just like, oh yeah, that's a thing, whatever. That thing came out here, huh, okay, whatever. They just like assume that's fact now, that just happened. And they don't question it. They don't question it for like 2 hours. Why don't you question it for 2 hours? And also I thought, I don't actually think it was a surprise, but I also thought it was also really weird that Miu just straight up throws the only bridge into the water and no one seems to be bothered. He just goes, Miu just throw the bridge away. Whatever, let's go. Why were you not worried at that point? The idea was cool, but the execution was just shoddy. I have to say, it was really shoddy. It took them way too long to figure out the word wraps, and that the word wrapping or looping, whatever, is pretty much the only interesting part of the entire murder. But that's something that you could figure out during the investigation very easily. Not even during the investigation, even before the murder, you could figure this out by just looking at the sign. And then someone saying, oh, I saw Miu outside, and then someone says, oh, I heard some sound that came from that side, even though it came from the There were so many hints that the word loops, and that's the only difficult part of the entire murder, and that's something you could figure out immediately. So I thought that was not very good. Chapter 5, I really like Chapter 5. Even though I really don't like Kokichi's behavior at all, I think in that chapter he actually did really well. And in general, I thought Chapter 5 was my favorite chapter of the entire Danganronpa 3, and I think I would actually say, like, I'm not gonna say, oh, everything in Danganronpa 3 is shit. Like I said, Danganronpa 3 is still a good game overall. And I would say that Chapter 5 is probably one of my top 3 chapters in all of Danganronpa. I really liked it, actually. Chapter 3 was really fucking awesome. I like the whole atmosphere you had, where everything was like, oh shit, we can't go on anymore, and everyone was like so despairing. And then we're like, oh, let's try and at least get Kaira out. Let's try and fight at least a little bit. and you saw that characters were walking around different places, like, oh, what is Himiko doing over there? Kibo is over there, and like, oh, she saw someone going in there, and like, X well. Like, you could also see that, like, even before the murder happened, like, oh, there's some weird stuff going on. And you could figure some stuff like, oh, there's this window, you could maybe slip something through there. And I like this, so I like the setup, I like the atmosphere, I like what the characters were doing, and then the murder happens, I like the way the murder went on, I like the idea behind the murder. The only thing I didn't like was the resolution in the very end that was just like, oh yeah, okay, Shuichi is correct, he's the murderer, and then done. I was hoping that something more would happen. I actually really like the idea. Let's do a murder where we swap victim and corpse in the very last second while Monokuma can't see anything, and we're also going to confuse the cause of death, and everything becomes very confusing but still easy to follow. And I just liked it. I really liked that Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is the crowning achievement of Danganronpa 3, if there was anything. What wasn't the crowning achievement of Danganronpa 3 was Chapter 6. Not only was the time limit stupid for the investigation in Chapter 6, because I really did go to just the places it told me. It told me, go to this place, I went there, go to this place, I went there. I went from place to place to place and looked at the important stuff all the time, and I still ran out of time at the end. And then it even taunted me. Yeah, you ran out of time, make sure to only go towards the places that are important. I was like, yeah, I did exactly that, I didn't do anything superfluous. I did just the stuff that you told me to do, and I ran out of time. I ran out of time in the women's toilet of all places. I don't know, that was a bit weird. Anyway, after that you had the whole class trial, and then we had the big thing that probably tears people's opinions apart. And I'm probably gonna give a very boring but reasonable answer in that I don't actually give too many shits about the endings of this game. I don't think the ending of Danganronpa 3, and since this is spoilers, so I'm going to spoil all of it, the fact that, oh, everything in this game is actually fictional in universe as well. Like, in universe, it's all fictional because all the Danganronpa killing games were also all fictional. Like, I know it was done with real people, but it was all a setup. It was all staged to some degree. And there have been like 53 of them already, and I was like, oh. Like, I know some people, some people say that ruin everything. You've pretty much shit on the entire canon of Danganronpa 1 and Danganronpa 2, invalidating pretty much both of them, saying, oh, they were all fictional, they didn't really exist, those two. So you can say that, oh, because it invalidated both of them, because it shit on all of that, now everything's shit, everything's ruined, the entire canon is shit. Why do you have to destroy the entire Danganronpa canon in the last 2 hours of the last game? That's fucking terrible. I'm not gonna go in that direction. I'm gonna say that it is sad that it invalidated those, but because it is probably the very end of Danganronpa, it should be. I didn't actually mind it too much. Like, yeah, it sucks. It sucks, but it didn't ruin everything. Come on, guys, grow up, dude. Grow up, guys. And the other side is, oh my god, a twist ending, could you guys believe it? Whoa, that was amazing. Like, yeah, fucking calm the fuck down, dude. It wasn't actually that interesting. Okay, it was interesting, but it wasn't actually that special. Come on, come on. Because the thing is, usually when stuff like this happens, I always wonder how it fits into everything. I could say, okay, it fits into everything, but does it make the whole experience better? Not really. Not really. Would it have made that much of a difference for the overall experience if it was something else instead that was also pretty good, pretty interesting? Like, I'm not sure. Not sure. Like, I guess the game wanted to make a point about, oh, you guys are playing games where people kill each other. Like, so on the nose, really. Oh, you guys like playing games where people kill each other? Oh my god, you guys are terrible people. It like jumped the shark multiple times during that, where they made such weird meta comments all the time. But this was like, it just came out of nowhere, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't know how to put it in words. I really don't know how to put it in words. Mostly because, like I said, I don't actually care too much about it. Like, it was cool. I actually thought at some point that I had to turn the game off in order to get the correct ending, but I just kept looking. And by the way, when they rewatched my playthrough, when the whole "I'm not gonna play your game anymore," I actually put down my controller, put it on auto, and went pissing, because I'm part of this game, man. Part of this game, man. Did I bump the camera at some point? I'm sorry. Anyway. Yeah, to people who wanted me to either say that the ending was the greatest thing ever, or the ending was fucking shit, I'm gonna disappoint you, because I don't actually care either way. I thought it sucks that they invalidated Danganronpa 1 and 2 to some degree. I liked some of the meta commentary. I don't like how it was presented. It was very on the nose. They were very open and forward about it. It went on for a bit too long. Too many back and forths where you're like, oh, come on, just fucking get on with it. But I like the sentiment behind it. I like that if this really is a Danganronpa game, you kind of have sort of even a meta commentary on the end of even the Danganronpa series, and make it make the end of Danganronpa series for us even make sense in universe. Like that's a cool idea. That's a cool idea. Like I said, cool idea. I like the sentiment. I like some of the meta commentary. Shit execution. Invalidated some stuff, didn't like that, so I'm a bit like, so overall, whatever. At least I felt satisfied at the end of that, so that's at least good. So yeah, that was it. Could I say again, to like sum everything up, why I think that Danganronpa 3 is the worst entry in the main series, like counting Danganronpa 1, Trigger Happy Havoc, and Super Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair. That's like the full titles. And Danganronpa V3, Killing Harmony. And a lot of people are gonna be like, ha, Killing Harmony, I guess because he killed the girl. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, to sum it all up, the cases were medium quality, had some really bad and frustrating edges to them. Why the fuck is Hangman's Gambit still in this game? Psychotaxi was a bit weak. The characters I thought were the weakest of them all, and especially in a visual novel, it's mostly about the characters, right? And if the characters are weak, then what the fuck? I thought the decision to kill off Kaede was... The decision itself was good, the execution and circumstances were fucking terrible. There's no way around, they're fucking terrible. But the idea was alright. In general, the idea of killing off the main character and switching to another one. So that was shit. The fact that after Kaede died, most of the characters just were brain dead and were strung along by Kokichi and to some degree Angie. And that felt really bad as well, because it felt like you were just watching people get strung along by a guy who's not even that smart, who's very obviously a bad guy. And I say that even after playing the even after having played the entire game, he's obviously a bad guy, and you're still fucking trusting him all the time. And it was very frustrating to watch that all the time, especially when you know there could have been a character or even multiple characters that could have said something against him but didn't, because they're either dead or they're crazy. And all the other characters that are getting strung along are just fucking stupid. Really didn't like that either. So cases, medium quality, shaggy edges, characters. Whatever, man. Maki actually went from someone I really didn't care about to someone that I thought was really awesome. She actually worked her way up to being main best girl, but then again, at the point where she became my next best girl, there were only like 5 girls or 4 girls left alive, so whatever, dude. I like Kibo. Kibo was a cool guy. So yeah, we have the characters. The music, I haven't said about the music, but the music was alright, but come on, this is Danganronpa. The music shouldn't just be good or great. The music should be fucking amazing. I thought all the good music in this game is just copied from the other games that came before. The stuff that's new or remixed for Danganronpa V3, not actually that interesting. Like, and the new class trial, like high intensity song, which was, I think, like a remix of Class Trial Future Part from Danganronpa 2. It's a remix of that. I thought was way too subtle. It should have been a lot more intense for the intense situations. I was missing that. I was missing the super awesome, amazing soundtrack during the final boss battle, which I didn't really hear too much of. The investigation theme was alright, but come on, it's supposed to be alright. It's supposed to be amazing, but it kind of wasn't. So the soundtrack, but the soundtrack overall is still good because of all the stuff it copied from the other soundtracks. Like, those songs are still really awesome. Just like I said, the newer stuff is not quite as good. So the soundtrack is also probably the weakest of all 3 Danganronpas. So weakest Danganronpa, weakest music, weakest characters, medium cases. The overarching story was a bit so-and-so. I actually called right when the game started that that memories are going to be really important, because it's showing us right at the start, hey player, memories are a very malleable thing in our series, or at least right now. So I kind of, it wasn't very hard to catch on to that. I think most people figure that, oh yes, there's going to be some interesting stuff going on with memories. So yeah, and after that it was just like, yeah, here's some bits of information every now and then, but I felt like the main characters themselves didn't actually get to do that much in mystery solving on their own until the final chapters. But at least the final chapter, like I said, good idea. So the overall story was also medium. So overall, if it's not the best in any of these categories, and even the worst in like 2 or 3 of them, boy, how can I not say that it's the worst entry in the main series? Not that it matters, because it's just 2 other games and both of them are really good. So I don't even think it's that big of a deal to say that's the worst entry. Not that people will either shower me with likes or shower me with dislikes, probably dislikes, for even putting this in my title, but fuck it, this is a true title of the video. So yeah, that was that. If you have anything to say, talk about it in the comments. I don't know if you're allowed to talk. No, you won't. No, you know what? Fuck it. You're allowed to talk about spoilers in the comments, but say it first in the comments, like, this comment contains spoilers, and then talk about it. And I'm probably also going to put it in the description. Hey guys, if you talk about comments, do this in the comments about this, blah blah blah. And I'm also going to put like spoiler warning for comments or something like that as well. I like to put it in the annotations, but annotations aren't really a thing anymore that much. Anyway, so yeah, that was that. Give me your opinions. I want to talk to you guys about it. The best thing would actually, like, this is always something I wanted to do when I started any channel. I also have an anime channel, and like a dedicated anime channel, and something I always want to do is I want to talk to people, because I feel like YouTube comments are probably the worst place in the entire history of humanity to talk to someone else, mostly because most YouTube commenters are fucking retarded. And if you think you're not retarded yourself, congratulations, you're probably not posting that much in YouTube comments, because if you are, then you should know that most YouTube comments are fucking stupid. Which is why I'd rather very much like to talk to people directly, but I know this is not going to be that simple, and I like to do it though. But yeah, if you have interesting things to say in a reasonable manner, of course, go ahead. Even if you completely disagree with everything that I said in this entire video and you fucking hate me for it, still leave me a comment. As long as you write it reasonably, there's no way I'm gonna even dislike it or remove it or anything. I might even respond and tell you and go into a bit of discussion. I like discussing. I like discussing stuff. Even when people think that I'm fucking retarded, I still discuss with people like that. Unless you're flaming. Unless flaming happens, I usually don't do anything to comments. So yeah, that was that. Long outro. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next up, I have A Hat in Time, which is probably going to take up a lot of my time for the next few weeks, months, maybe even years, who knows. So I was like, I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys next time.